The little girls cried loudly as their mother, Elara, began packing her clothes into a bag. Elara's face was tight with anger, like someone ready to fight the whole world. Her husband, Mr. Thomas, said gently, "The babies are crying. They need their mother." But Elara answered in a cold and sharp voice, "They are no longer my concern. I'm leaving you." She continued stuffing her clothes into the bag without looking at him. "Please don't go," Thomas begged. "If not for me, then stay for the sake of these innocent children God gave us." Elara turned to him and snapped, "I didn't marry you to suffer. Since you can't give me the life I want, I'm done. Don't come looking for me. As for the babies, do whatever you want with them. I don't care." She paused, twisted her lips bitterly, and added, "To be honest, I don't even care if they live or die." With that, she zipped up her bag and stormed out of the house, slamming the door hard behind her. Everything had once been peaceful between Thomas and his wife, but things changed the day he lost his job. Since then, Elara had been threatening to leave. She complained about everything: the small room they moved into, the plain food they had to eat. Thomas kept begging her, not just because he loved her, but for the sake of their little daughters Sophia and Lily, who were just 3 months old. But Elara never listened. Mr. Thomas carried the babies in his arms and gently cuddled them. Though they kept crying, he rocked them back and forth until they slowly calmed down. As he looked at their innocent faces, his heart grew heavy, but his voice was firm. "I may not have money to give you the best life," he whispered, "but I promise I will be the best father in the whole world to you." He kept rocking them softly, and not long after, the twin girls drifted off to sleep. The next morning came with hunger and worry. Mr. Thomas woke up with no food, no money, and 2 crying babies, Sophia and Lily, needing to be fed. There was no time to feel sorry for himself. He had to move. He had to provide. Since he no longer had a company job, he went out and hired a wheelbarrow. Then he strapped the babies to his chest and headed to the market to look for work. He began pushing heavy bags for people. Many stared. Some looked at him with pity. Some smiled and placed small coins in his hands for the babies. One elderly woman with deep concern written on her face stopped him and said softly, "You're doing a great job." Then she pressed 500 naira into his palm. "This is for the babies." Mr. Thomas bowed his head slightly and thanked her. Then he continued his work. But not everyone was kind. One loudmouth lady hissed and shouted, "Enjoyment, master. When you were busy enjoying in bed, you didn't think of responsibility. Now suffer alone." Mr. Thomas heard her loud and clear. Her words stung, but he said nothing. He didn't care what anyone thought. The only thing that mattered to him was that his little girls would be okay. After a long day of hard work, Mr. Thomas returned home. Even though he had spent the whole day pushing heavy loads while caring for his babies, he felt happy. He had made enough money to take care of his girls. That evening, he went to a nearby pharmacy and spoke to the pharmacist. He explained his situation and asked for help with things he needed to feed his babies. The kind pharmacist made a list for him. It included powdered milk for infants and some basic medicine for baby care. Mr. Thomas paid for everything and returned home, feeling grateful. Day after day, he continued to work with the twins tied to his chest. He had no one else to help. His mother had passed away and he had no sisters. It was exhausting, but he never complained. In fact, he felt joy in his heart knowing that he was able to care for his daughters. At first, he didn't believe he could do it, but now he was managing and the babies were doing fine. One Monday morning, as he stepped out with his wheelbarrow, a familiar voice called out to him. It was an elderly neighbor, Miss Clara. She walked up and said, "Let me take the babies today. I'll watch over them until you return." Mr. Thomas hesitated. Miss Clara added gently, "I want to help you. Besides, the sun is too hot for these little ones. Don't worry, I will take good care of them." After thinking for a moment, Mr. Thomas handed the babies to her and left for work. Though he was relieved from the stress of carrying the babies around all day, his heart was still restless. Those girls were his whole world. Since their mother left, he had formed an unbreakable bond with them. He would give his life to protect them. Miss Clara, as everyone called her, was poor, but she was kind-hearted. She took care of the babies with love. She fed them, bathed them, and dressed them gently. When Mr. Thomas came back in the evening, he found his daughters giggling happily in Miss Clara's arms. He smiled with deep thanks and took them home. From that day on, Miss Clara helped him anytime he went out with his wheelbarrow. The twin girls grew up knowing two people: their loving father and Grandma Clara, the woman they called their mama. Sophia and Lily didn't attend the best private schools, but their father made sure he worked hard to pay their school fees and buy all the books they needed. He also taught them how to be kind, respectful, and hardworking. At 18 years old, the twins graduated from the community secondary school. Mr. Thomas was filled with pride. The girls studied day and night for their WAS and JAM exams. Sophia scored 325 in her JAM. Lily scored even higher, 341. Both of them got admission to study medicine and surgery at the same university. But that was when the real struggle began. One afternoon, Sophia and Lily came home laughing and full of excitement. They ran to their father and handed him their printed JAM result slips. Mr. Thomas smiled and congratulated them. "Oh, my daughters, you've done well. I am so proud of you. Now I can walk in the city with my shoulders raised high. My daughters will soon become doctors," he said, pretending to walk like a big man. His chest puffed up. They all laughed together. The house was full of joy. But later, Mr. Thomas went quietly into his room, and his smile faded. He sat on the edge of the bed, silent and heavy-hearted. He had no money, not even enough to sponsor one of them. He was completely broke. He lowered his head and whispered to himself, "All these years of hard work. Now my daughters have made it and I can't pay their fees." He felt like he was drowning, helpless and ashamed. But then he clenched his fists and muttered, "No, I won't let money stop them. I will do whatever it takes. My daughters must become doctors." The next morning, Mr. Thomas rose very early, long before the twins woke up. But this time he didn't carry his wheelbarrow. He knew deep in his heart that what he needed now was far beyond what that old barrow could provide. He walked with heavy steps to the home of a wealthy man in the neighborhood, and asked to speak with him. The rich man, still in his pajamas, looked at him with suspicion. "What business brings you to my house this early in the morning?" Mr. Thomas dropped to his knees and said, "Please, sir, I want you to take me as your houseboy. I will do anything you say. Wash your clothes, cook your food, sweep your compound. Just help me send my two daughters to the university. I will work for you like a slave until they graduate." He explained to the rich man how Sophia and Lily were his life, the only joy left in his world. He begged the man with all his heart. But the rich man shook his head and said coldly, "Training two students in medicine and surgery is no child's play. I will not do it." Mr. Thomas stood up quietly and left. He didn't stop there. He went to 5 more rich houses one after the other. Each time he knelt and begged, offering to serve in exchange for his daughter's education, but they all said no. Tired and broken, Mr. Thomas returned home. For 2 days, he came back from work without saying much. He was quiet. His heart was heavy. He didn't know how to tell his daughters that their dreams might not come true. But one evening, he gathered his courage and called them into his room. "My daughters," he said softly, "I'm sorry. I failed you both. Please forgive me. I made a promise long ago when you were little that I would send you to the ends of the earth to study. But now I don't even have enough to send you to the university." He tried to stay strong, but his voice cracked. He turned his face away and swallowed hard to stop the tears. Lily stood up and said gently, "Daddy, there's nothing to forgive. We know how much you love us. We know you would have sent us even to the moon if you had the money." Sophia added, "Whether we go to university or not, we love you always." They both wrapped their arms around their father and hugged him tightly. That night, when Mr. Thomas was sure his daughters were asleep, he knelt quietly beside his bed and began to cry to God. His voice was low, but the pain in it was deep. "God, please help me. I have nothing, but you have everything. My girls deserve this chance. Please, Lord, help me send them to school." He wept bitterly, hitting his hands on the floor. His shoulders shook. He begged God like a man drowning in sorrow. Sophia and Lily were awake. They heard everything. It tore their hearts to pieces. All their lives, their father had been their rock. He never cried, never complained. Even when life was hard, but tonight he was crying, weeping because of them. They buried their faces in their pillows and sobbed quietly. The next few days passed with a little peace in the house. Sophia and Lily, though sad, stayed strong. They took a bold step. They went to university and deferred their admission. It was painful, but they had a plan. They wanted to work, save money, and help their father by next year. One day, they went out together to search for a job. After many rejections, they found one in a neat and decent restaurant. Sophia and Lily started working there immediately. They greeted customers with smiles, served food with care, and showed respect to everyone. Customers liked them and gave them generous tips. Some men tried to take advantage of their poverty, but the twins stood their ground. They refused to sell their dignity. They saved almost every penny they earned. At night, they would count their money and pray with their father. Mr. Thomas never stopped praying for them. Every day he knelt down and called on God to bless the work of their hands. After about 7 months of hard work, saving and prayer, Sophia and Lily opened a small restaurant of their own. It wasn't big, but was clean, neat, and beautifully arranged. They cooked delicious food and treated every customer like family. They also used social media to advertise. Before long, customers started coming in large numbers. The little restaurant became popular. Sophia and Lily were finally rising. They continued saving every bit of the money they made. The dream of becoming doctors still burned in their hearts. But life had its own path. Fate, however, had something different in store. One evening, after a long, tiring day at the restaurant, Sophia was cleaning the tables when she noticed a black briefcase under one of the chairs. "Look, Lily," she said, holding it up. "Someone must have forgotten this." Curiosity got the better of them. They opened the briefcase carefully and froze. Inside were many important-looking documents and a thick pile of American dollars. Lily's eyes widened. This person must be very rich. They didn't waste time. They closed the briefcase and took it home. When Mr. Thomas saw it, he listened to the girls quietly, then nodded. "You did the right thing bringing it home. Don't worry, the owner will definitely come looking for it. This bag is too valuable to lose." The next morning, the girls returned to the restaurant early with the briefcase. As they arrived, they saw a rich-looking man standing beside a shiny black car, looking worried. When they greeted him, he immediately asked, "Did you by chance see a black briefcase?" "Yes," Sophia replied, reaching into the sack they carried. She handed it over carefully. The man looked at it, visibly relieved. "Thank you very much," he said quickly, collected the briefcase, entered his car, and drove off without another word. Lily blinked. "He should have at least given us one of those dollars," she joked. Sophia laughed. "So, in your mind now, you want dollars? I'll start calling you Lady Dollars." They both laughed and walked into the restaurant to begin the day's work. They were still the only 2 workers in the place. It hadn't grown enough to hire more hands, but they remained hopeful. Every day was a step forward. Around midday, as the sun blazed down on the bustling streets, the same man who had taken the briefcase earlier returned. He drove up in the same shiny car, but this time he wasn't in a rush. He stopped and smiled at Sophia and Lily. "I'm Prince David," he introduced himself, stepping out of the car. "For your honesty and faithfulness, I want to reward you." Sophia and Lily exchanged hopeful glances, wondering if this would finally be the moment they received a little extra money. But to their surprise, Prince David didn't hand them any money. Instead, he took them to a large, impressive building. "This is for you," he said. "The documents in the briefcase were more valuable than the money. You saved my family by preserving that bag. Now I want you to have this building for your restaurant. It's all yours." Sophia and Lily stood there shocked. They couldn't believe it. They had worked so hard, and now it seemed like a dream come true. Grateful tears welled up in their eyes as they thanked him over and over again with hearts full of joy. They quickly took a taxi and made their way to find their father. They spotted him at the market, standing by his wheelbarrow, drinking a refreshing glass of kunu. Without a word, they ran to him, throwing their arms around him. People in the market stared, amazed at the sight of these 2 beautiful young women embracing the poor man. Mr. Thomas laughed, shaking his head in disbelief. "Sit," he said with a warm smile. "Let me buy you some kunu." They sat down with him, sipping the cool drink, their excitement bubbling over. Finally, Lily spoke. "We have a surprise for you, Daddy." "What is it?" Mr. Thomas asked. His curiosity piqued. He smiled, wondering what his daughters had in store. Words couldn't express their excitement, so they simply stood up, motioning for him to follow them. Mr. Thomas immediately got to his feet and followed them. When they reached the large building, Lily's voice rang out with excitement. "It's ours, Daddy. The man who lost the briefcase gave it to us," he said. "We should open our restaurant here." Tears of happiness filled Mr. Thomas's eyes. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. The restaurant, the new beginning, the reward for his daughter's honesty. It was everything he had ever dreamed of for them. They all celebrated together, laughter and joy filling the air as they stood in front of the building that was now their own. That evening at home, Sophia and Lily sat down with their father. They could see the strain in his face, the years of hard work taking its toll. Sophia spoke softly but firmly. "Dad, it's time for you to stop pushing the wheelbarrow. You're not getting any younger. This kind of hard work is for younger men, not for you," she said, her voice filled with love. Lily nodded in agreement. "We've got this now. You've given us everything we need to succeed, and now it's time for you to rest." Mr. Thomas opened his mouth as if to argue, but he saw the determination in their eyes. He couldn't help but be moved by their words. They had worked so hard, and now they were standing tall, no longer dependent on him. With a heavy heart, but a feeling of immense pride, Mr. Thomas agreed to retire from his hard labor that day. Prince David didn't just give them the building. He had furnished it with new chairs, tables, plates, and pots. He had provided everything they needed to make the restaurant a success. The girls put their hearts into making the place perfect. Sophia and Lily's restaurant was bustling with activity. The atmosphere was classy, inviting, and warm. The food was mouth-watering, and their hospitality, kind, patient, and genuine, was a driving force behind the success. Soon customers were flocking in, enjoying both the delicious meals and the welcoming ambience. The restaurant was no longer just a business. It was a symbol of hope, a way out of poverty, and a dream realized through hard work and perseverance. More importantly, the girls made sure to take care of their father. He no longer had to work hard in the heat. They treated him like a king, providing for him in ways he had never dreamed of. His tired, weathered hands no longer needed to carry heavy loads. Instead, he spent his days enjoying the fruits of their labor, knowing that his sacrifices had led them here. But Sophia and Lily didn't forget the ones who helped them along the way. They remembered Miss Clara, who had helped them when they were babies. She was old now, often sick, but she had been a pillar of support in their lives. Sophia and Lily made sure her life was as comfortable as possible. They renovated her little house, making it cozy and livable. Every month they sent her money, paying for her hospital bills and making sure she never lacked anything. Their kindness to Miss Clara was just as heartfelt as their love for their father. They knew the value of gratitude and wanted to ensure that the people who had helped them along the way were never forgotten. One afternoon, a woman walked into the restaurant looking lost and weary. "What do you want?" one of the ladies working asked, her voice laced with curiosity. The woman looked up, her eyes filled with hope. "I'm looking for a job." The lady, sensing the desperation in her tone, walked her over to Sophia and Lily. The woman pleaded, "I can do anything. Wash plates, mop the floors, serve dishes. Please, I just need work." Though there was no vacancy for a new employee, Sophia and Lily felt a strange pull in their hearts for the woman. They couldn't explain it, but they decided to offer her a chance. They gave her the job to wash dishes. Unbeknownst to them, this woman was Elara, their mother. After 3 failed marriages to wealthy men, she had been left with nothing. Back at square one, she had used and been used. But this time it seemed she had nowhere else to go. The next day, Mr. Thomas came to visit his daughters. After exchanging pleasantries, he walked into the kitchen where he saw Elara. She hadn't noticed him, so he quietly stepped back, his heart heavy with memories. He found his daughters and sat them down, his voice tinged with a quiet seriousness. "Do you have a new dishwasher?" "Yes, Daddy," Sophia replied. "Do you know her?" "No," they both answered, looking puzzled. "But why are you asking about her?" He cleared his throat, his words slow and deliberate. "That woman is Elara, your mother." Lily's eyes widened in disbelief. What? Our mother? Yes. She is your mother. After she left, I burned every picture of her. The memories were too painful. So you've never seen her face. The three of them walked into the kitchen. When Elara saw Mr. Thomas standing there, her face drained of color and she froze, unable to speak a word. Mr. Thomas took a deep breath and turned to Elara. His voice steady but heavy with emotion. The women who employed you, they are your daughters. Elara's face drained of color, her lips trembling as she whispered, I am so sorry. I am so sorry, my daughters. The words came in soft sobs, barely audible, as she bowed her head in regret. Sophia's face hardened, a storm of emotion brewing in her eyes. You have to leave, she said firmly. She picked up a handful of cash from the counter and handed it to Elara. This is more than you have worked for. Go somewhere. I don't know you and you are not my mother. My mother is Grandma Clara, not this stranger. Her voice broke at the last sentence, but the anger still burned in her heart. Lily, who had been quietly watching the scene unfold, wrapped her arms around her sister, holding her tightly. I know you're hurting, Sophia, and so am I, she said softly, her voice filled with compassion. But please don't send her away. Not now. She needs our help. Sophia's face twisted with grief, her tears starting to flow freely. I don't want to help, she whispered. Then pointing at Elara, she cried out. This woman left us. She went her way, while we were left to fend for ourselves. She left us with our father to suffer and die. The pain in her voice was raw, the truth finally spilling from her heart. Her sobs echoed through the room, deep and painful. The tears seemed endless. But slowly, as the emotion poured out, she began to calm. The weight of the grief lessened, even if just for a moment. Elara, trembling, reached out to them. Her voice filled with remorse. I am sorry, my daughters. Please forgive me. I was young, foolish, and selfish. Please forgive me. That evening, Mr. Thomas sat down with his daughters, his face etched with quiet sadness. The conversation that followed was a hard one. The air was thick with tension, but in the end, their hearts softened. They forgave Elara, though it was not an easy decision. The next day, Sophia and Lily decided to give Elara a new role in the restaurant. They couldn't bear the thought of her still washing dishes. She would be the matron, overseeing the operations, a role that would allow her to show responsibility and respect. At first, Elara seemed to embody the kindness the restaurant needed. The workers had no issue with her, and customers seemed to warm to her gentle presence. But over time something changed. Elara's temper flared. Her once soft voice became sharp and commanding. She began to bully the workers, snapping at them for minor mistakes, her attitude souring like spoiled food. The atmosphere in the restaurant grew tense. Workers started to avoid her and customers began to notice the shift in tone. Slowly, like a slow leak in a boat, the restaurant's patronage began to dwindle. The warmth and joy that had once filled the place were now replaced with unease. Sophia and Lily noticed the change but didn't know how to fix it. The business they had worked so hard for seemed to be slipping through their fingers. Sophia and Lily sat their mother down one evening, their faces somber and full of concern. They had to talk to her about her behavior, hoping she might listen. But when they spoke, Elara's defiance was clear. I am your mother, she snapped, her voice cold. I brought you into this world. You can't tell me what to do. Sophia, feeling the sting of her mother's words, tried to keep calm. You are here to help us, but your attitude is destroying everything we work for. Elara's eyes narrowed and she continued. Where is your father? The one you always give money to? He's lazy, just sitting at home, and you give him everything. But me, all you give me is my salary. Sophia's face darkened with anger. I will have a problem with you if you ever speak badly about my father again, she said firmly. But Elara wasn't done. You don't love me, she shot back, her voice dripping with bitterness. You're just managing me here. The conversation quickly turned into a heated exchange with neither side willing to back down. Finally, after the tense meeting, Sophia and Lily went to their father, exhausted and frustrated. Mr. Thomas listened quietly before speaking, his voice heavy with experience. She is still your mother, but if you allow her to continue in the restaurant, she'll destroy everything you've worked so hard to build. After much discussion, Sophia and Lily came to a decision. The next day, they told Elara that she would no longer work in the restaurant. Her reaction was swift and full of anger. "I know it's your stupid father who poisoned your minds against me," she yelled, her voice shaken with rage. The insult stung, but Sophia and Lily stood firm. They watched as their mother stormed off, her harsh words lingering in the air. Despite the pain of their mother's departure, the twins didn't leave her without support. They opened a small shop for her right in front of her house, allowing her to manage herself. It wasn't the ideal solution, but it was something. Mr. Thomas, though hurt by everything that had happened, still longed for the days when things had been better. He wanted to forget the past and bring Elara back into their lives as his wife. But Elara's behavior had pushed him too far, and he couldn't reconcile the pain she had caused. Meanwhile, the restaurant flourished. With Elara gone, the atmosphere improved and business boomed. Word spread about the warm, welcoming service and delicious food. Soon, the restaurant was thriving like never before. Sophia and Lily expanded, opening new branches in cities all across Nigeria. Their hard work and dedication had paid off, and they were finally seeing the fruits of their labor. But it wasn't just the money they had earned. It was the peace they had found. Their father was content, no longer burdened by the toxic presence of their mother, and the restaurant once again was the heart of their success. Now that money was no longer a problem, they sat down and talked about their dream of becoming medical doctors. Lily spoke first, her voice soft yet sure. "The fire is no longer inside of me. I love my business." She looked around the restaurant, watching the hustle of customers and staff, and felt a deep sense of pride. What had started as a dream to become doctors now seemed distant, almost irrelevant compared to the joy and purpose they found in their work. Sophia, nodding in agreement, smiled warmly. "This business is God's answer to our Father's prayers. I too don't want to be a doctor anymore. I love this business." Her eyes sparkled with excitement, not for a medical career, but for the thriving establishment they had built, a place where they could continue helping others, just in a different way. Together they shared a quiet moment, their hearts at peace with the path they had chosen. The ambition that once burned bright for medicine had been replaced by a passion for their business. And they knew they had found their true calling. As time passed, suitors began to appear for Sophia and Lily, and they were both ready to start a new chapter of their lives. The excitement of planning their weddings filled the air, and the twins decided to set the date for the same day, a day that would be shared with their new husbands. But there was concern about leaving their father alone. After some thought, the girls decided to address the matter. One afternoon, they sat down with their father, a little nervous but determined. Sophia began with a gentle voice. "Father, we know you are happy that we have found husbands, but we are troubled that you are still alone. Not all women are like our mother, and we believe there are good women out there." Lily picked up where her sister left off. "Daddy, we have found you a nice woman." Mr. Thomas's face softened as he looked at his daughters. "Who is she?" Lily smiled, feeling sure of their decision. "She works in one of our restaurants. She's been very kind to us and we even turned to her for advice on some things. Her husband passed away and she has 2 children. If you marry her, her kids will be like our younger siblings, and we'll make sure they get a good education." Mr. Thomas was taken aback for a moment. He wasn't sure what to think, but after a long pause he nodded slowly. "I need time to think." After 2 days of reflection he finally agreed. He met Madame Ruth, the woman they had spoken so highly of, and after talking with her, he saw that she was genuine and kind-hearted. He gave his consent to marry her, feeling at peace with his decision. The wedding was set to coincide with Sophia and Lily's. On that fateful day, the church was filled with love and joy as Mr. Thomas, Sophia, and Lily all got married. Grandma Clara, who had been a mother figure to them all, stood proudly as the chief mother of the day, symbolizing the love and unity of their family. It was a day of new beginnings, not just for the girls but for their father too. And finally, if you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe. If you're not with us, we're one person short.